Today we're going to begin working on Chapter 4, Lesson 7. Okay, you are going to be starting on page 320 in your math book. One of the things first and foremost with this lesson that I would like you to remember is number one, on this lesson, you are able to use your calculator. And number two, you're going to see this chart, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about here towards the top of 320 is going to be very, very, very important as you work through this lesson and the practice problems that go along with it. There is also another chart that is very similar to this one on the back page, located on the back hard page of your book. If you would like to look at that one, you are more than welcome to too. What I would recommend is maybe that you take a little post-it note or a sticky note or bend this page over or write down somewhere page 320 because this is going to be a really important page that you're going to be referring back to. As we take a look at our lesson for today, we're looking at converting between measurement systems, okay? Hopefully you guys all know that in the United States, we use what we call the customary system in terms of measurement. Customary system meaning when we measure things, for example, if we measure length, we're going to measure in inches, feet, miles. When we measure in weight, we might measure in ounces or pounds. And then also when we are measuring in terms of your capacity or how much something can hold, in the United States we tend to use cups, pints, quarts, and gallons, okay? In every other country across the world, they use what we call the metric system, okay? And the metric system is on a base 10. And so one of the things that you're going to notice here as you take a look at this chart, what they've done is they've given you our customary system that we use in the United States, and they're comparing it to the metric system, which every other country will use. As you're taking a look at this, you kind of understand how it works. For example, if I'm measuring length, in or on this chart, your relationship, if I have 1 inch, that's going to be approximately, when you see the wavy lines, that's approximate. Okay, so approximately in 1 inch, that's about 2.54 centimeters. Okay, 1 foot is about 3/10 of a meter. 1 yard is about 91/100 of a meter. 1 mile is about 1 61/100 kilometers. Okay, you can see the same conversions they've given you for weight and mass. So you've got pounds and tons here. Pounds is changed to grams and also kilograms. And then tons to kilograms. And then on the bottom for capacity, cups to milliliters, pints to milliliters, quarts to milliliters, and then gallons to liters. Again, please take note of this chart because you are going to be using it quite frequently as we work through these problems, okay? They are giving you a couple examples to look at, okay? So they would like you to convert 17 and 22/100 inches to centimeters. So this is the important part right here when you think about this, okay? I know that I want to go and I have 17 and 22/100 inches and I need to take it to centimeters. Also, I'm rounding to the nearest hundredth. Okay, so when we set this up, the first thing that you're going to want to do is start with what you have. We know that we're working with 17 and 22/100 inches. So I'm going to write down, and you would write down on your paper, 17 and 22/100 inches times, and then we're going to look at our conversions. Okay, so I'm going from inches to centimeters. So what I would do is go back up here, okay, and notice right here I have the conversion of inches to centimeters. So that's what I'm going to be using. So what they've done is then, as you can see, sorry, I went a little bit too far. You can see here that they've written your conversion. Whatever unit this is, okay, this needs to go on the bottom. So in this case, this was inches, so we're writing inches down here. And based on our chart above that I just showed you, 1 inch is the same as 2.54 centimeters. We want to make sure we get inches to centimeters, so I had my inches, and now I'm at centimeters, which is what we want. You're going to cross off those common units right there. Now, if I think of this in terms of a fraction, this would be the same as 17 and 22/100 over 1. So treat it as a fraction. We can take 17 and 22/100 times 2 and 54/100 over 1 times 1 is 1. So when we multiply those out, we're going to get about 43.7388. Again, we're rounding to the nearest hundredth, which is 2 places after the decimal. So I'm looking at here is 2 places after. Okay, 3 is going to look back at the 8. 8 is going to tell the 3 to go up. So therefore, I have 43 and 74/100 centimeters. Okay, again, you're more than welcome to use your calculator on these because you are going to be multiplying and dividing on some of them. Okay, example 2 is asking us to convert 5 kilometers to miles. Okay, 5 kilometers to miles. This is what we know. So I'm going to write down what I have, 5 kilometers times, and I have to get it to miles. Again, if you go back up and look at your chart, they're going to tell you that in 1 mile we have 1.61 kilometers. Kilometers was what I had here, so I have to put kilometers on the bottom. Okay, I can cross those units out. I know I'm changing it to miles, so miles went on top. So in 1 mile, I have 1.61 kilometers. And again, I got that from the table up at the top. Now, again, think of this as a fraction. 5 times 1 is 5. So I would have 5 on the top, as you can see they have there. 1 times 1 and 61/100ths would be 1 and 61/100ths. So you want to simplify that. So you're actually going to take 5 divided by the 1 and 61/100ths. Then you would come up with 3 and 11/100ths miles. Again, rounding to the nearest hundredth. Okay? Let's go ahead and take a look at A, B, and C together here. Okay, so as we take a look at the first one, I'm going to set it up, use what you know, so I've got 6 yards times what I have here needs to go on the bottom. Okay, what I have there needs to go on the bottom. So I'm going to go back up to my chart at the top and see if there's a direct correlation between yards to meters. Okay, so when I look at the top, back at my length, I know that it says 1 yard is 91/100ths of a meter. So I've got 1 yard is going to be 91/100ths of a meter. So these 2 units are the same, so I'm going to cross those off. I wanted to change yards to meters, which I have. So I'm technically thinking 6/1. So 6 times 91/100ths. Okay, and when we multiply that out, you're going to end up coming up with 5 and 46/100ths. And my label is going to be meters because that's what I'm looking at. Again, that's the rounded version because we're looking at the rounded to the nearest hundredth. Taking your calculator, multiplying that out. Okay, looking at letter B, I've got 1.6 or 1 6/10 centimeters times, centimeters needs to go on the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to look at my conversion in my book. Okay, I know that when I'm looking at length and I'm looking for inches and centimeters, I know that 1 inch at the very top is going to equal 2.54 centimeters. So 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. Again, thinking that this is the same as over 1, crossing out my common units. So 1.6 times 1 would be 1.6. Over 1 times 2.54 would be 2.54. And then we would take 1.6 and divide it by 2.54. Rounded to the nearest hundredth, we should come up with 63/100ths inches. And that would be our answer for that one. Then looking at the last one, letter C here, I'm going to write down what I know. So 17 meters times, meters is going to go on the bottom. So I want to look to see if I can change meters to yards. And it does tell me at the top that I have 1 yard equals 91/100ths meters. So 1 yard equals 91/100ths meters. Again, I'm thinking over 1, I'm going to cross off my m's. So 17 times 1 is 17. 1 times 91/100ths is 91/100ths. So then we're going to plug in our calculator, 17 divided by 91/100ths. And when we do that, we're going to come up with approximately 18 and 68/100ths yards would be our label. And again, these are all approximations, okay, because they're estimates there. Okay, take your time on these. Please make sure, again, when you're looking at them, that you're referring back to the table up at the top. Write down what you know. It's always being multiplied by whatever this unit is here goes on the bottom. And then you're going to take this unit and convert it or find the conversion or the relationship to what you want to get it to be. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at 321. The previous 3 examples were all working with length. Okay, so hopefully you kind of noticed that. The next page you're going to see at the top. Okay, this one is asking you to convert 828.5 milliliters to cups. Okay, so when we're looking at this one, we're focusing more on capacity. So there's an example there that I would like you to look at. Same setup. Take some time to look at that. Same thing with example 4, so you may want to pause your video to look through those 2 examples. Number 5, you're converting kilograms to pounds. So on this one, we're focusing more on the weight or the mass. Again, your setup is still going to be the same, so you can pause the video to take a look at that example. And then we're going to go ahead and take a look at the 3 practice problems on the bottom of page 321. We are going to do these together. Okay? So as I take a look at letter D, I'm going to write down what I know. So I have 7 and 44/100 cups times, cups is going to go on the bottom. My goal is to change cups to milliliters. So I'm looking back on page 320, excuse me, at my conversion or the relationship between. So I'm looking to see if I can find anything where it says cups to milliliters. And when I take a look at my chart for capacity, it will tell you 1 cup equals 236.59 milliliters. So over here, I'm going to put down 1 cup, and I'm going to write down my 236 and 59/100 milliliters. Cups are the same, so I'm going to cancel those out. Again, I'm thinking over 1. So I'm going to multiply my numerators, 7 and 44/100 times 236 and 59/100. And when we multiply those, we're going to end up with 1,760.23 milliliters. And again, that's rounded to the nearest hundredth. Looking at example E, I'm starting off with 22 and 9/100 pounds times, pounds is here, so I'm going to put pounds on the bottom. My goal is to convert it to kilograms, so I'm going to look at my chart. So pounds to kilograms. When I take a look at that, I know that 1 pound is going to be the same as 0.4536 kilograms. Okay? Again, I'm going to multiply straight across. So 22 and 9/100 times 0.4536. When we multiply that, we're going to come up with about 10 and 2/100 kilograms. So I'm going to change that to approximately as well. Same thing for letter F. When you work through that, ultimately we should come up with 9.46 gallons approximately. So you can try that one and take a look at that one. What I would like you to do right now at this point is to go ahead then and turn to the extra practice problems in your book, which are going to be found on page 325, and go ahead and follow the directions that are given on the website for this. Again, please remember, number 1, take your time. Number 2, use the conversion chart on page 320. And number 3, please make sure you're showing your work in terms of labels, your multiplication, and use your calculator.